after seeing The Evil Dead and things, my brother and I read a lot of books, and my brother Nolan introduced me to H.P. Lovecraft, and we read some of his books. And I remember my brother getting this book at Walden Bookstore when we were like in grade school or middle school, I can't remember. And I think middle school. And it was like a field guide to Cthulhu. Cthulhu mythos. So it was like this book with all these monsters in it, what to look for and what to do if you see them. And well, one day we're in the bookstore, and behind the shelf is a copy of the Necronomicon. And we're like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Like, and we were middle school, so I had no idea at this time that the Necronomicon was make-believe. I was of the belief that, like, that's the Necronomicon. This is
the
real deal. And, of course, we bought every copy that was in the store, but they wouldn't let us buy it. We had to go get our moms because we were under the age of 18.
Oh, yeah. What did they think of that?
To us. Yeah, they didn't. I don't really remember. I think they probably thought we were weird.
Yeah.
But there was like 5 copies, so we bought all 5.
Oh, yeah.
And it turned out the reason they were behind the bookshelf or behind the counter was because of shoplifting. Because it's one of the most shoplifted books.
Oh, really?
So yeah, we got it and read through it. And it was, all Greek to me back in those days. Well, we got to high school and I got a little more daring, and we started doing the rituals in the books, and did it work? I guess maybe.
Yeah.
I remember.
Did you collect certain ingredients and certain?
Yeah. There's ingredients and symbols that you got to use, and you make your symbols. We have, gosh, now I had this memory of being in high school and my stepmom finding the bowl we used with the Necronomicon and the knife. And it was in Nolan's bedroom.
Yeah.
And it freaked her out, and it was this bowl, and we used fingernail polish and painted these symbols from the Necronomicon on the outside of the bowl and on the handle of the knife. And then in the bowl was these incenses we burned, the leftovers of that. And she was convinced that was blood and that we were, I don't know, she thought, it was still the end of the 80s satanic panic. So
yeah,
she thought we were devil worshippers. They took it away.
And
then they went through our room and took away everything related to magic. I had some comic books called Magic. They took those away. And I'm like, what are you doing? Nolan and me and some friends, we got together, and the first time we did a ritual with me, it was, should we talk about local places? Because it was at that hill on by Sherman Park where all those trees were. We went between the trees there. You know where I'm talking?
Yeah.
So we went there and we did the ritual, and I got all creeped out, of course. And the one thing that happened is that we all looked up at the moon, and the clouds moved, and it looked like the clouds and the moon looked like an eye looking down on us, like just the shape of the clouds around the eye.
Yeah.
Maybe it was overactive imaginations.
No.
Maybe we did it.
Yeah, you did it.
And another time, I wasn't present, but there's a cemetery about a block away from the house we were living at. And my brother and a couple of my friends went to the cemetery, and they summoned, I think it was a watcher in the book, but there was supposed to be like these dogs or hellhounds or something. And when they did it, all of a sudden these dogs started barking. There's no dogs around, and they got all freaked out and ran away.
What is the origins of that name, like the Mad Arab?
I don't know what his reasons are, but it was a character that H.P. Lovecraft made up when he was a kid. He used to dress up and play, and he was pretty educated, being home alone all the time, and reading all the time, and he was, from what I understand, really loved the Arabian Nights, and created this fictional Muslim guy, and that's who became the Mad Arab. And And these other cultures, like the Muslims, and then like in his short story Call of Cthulhu, they go down south and there's like a Haitian tribe or something like that. But these were really exotic to him back at that time, and unknown. So there's a little fear there. So it was I think because it was exotic and unknown, don't understand this other alien culture. And yeah, he just went with it.
Do you think his mom or whoever else was around him was aware of these imaginations of his or his creations? Or
I think his mom thought he had issues, and I think his mom had issues.
how involved was his mom in all this? Was she, or was she not a proponent of it? What did she do?
They were rich because of his grandfather, and his dad ended up not being a part of the picture, and Lovecraft was raised by his mom and aunt, all females. And then he was really close to Grandpa. Grandpa dies, and they live off of Grandpa's wealth until that runs out. Once his mom's old, she's pretty poor. But they're very aristocratic, like kind of snobs, I would say. She was very controlling, and I don't know. He was a recluse. He was a sickly boy. I don't remember what he got sick with that kept him in the house for like 2 years. But that's once he created some of his things when he's alone like that, and you spend that much time alone. In solitude, you definitely go to places that the rest of us don't always go to.
Absolutely.
So later, after the Simon Necronomicon, I mentioned Aleister Crowley. He created this. He's a whole nother topic himself, but he created some magical orders. One of them is called the Ordo Templi Orientis, which is basically a Masonic group that he took over and reintroduced the mysticism in it, and made it more specific to his magic and his belief, his paradigm, called Thelema. And one of his students, Kenneth Grant, started channeling Lovecraft's creatures, and he, being a very serious magician, came to believe that Lovecraft really had access to the Necronomicon in his dreams. Like the Necronomicon existed out there in the Akashic, out in this dream world.
I wanted to ask too about Aleister Crowley. What's his what the time frame of him and H.P. Lovecraft? Are they
were alive at the same time?
Yeah. And did they have any interaction at all, or that you're aware of?
They did not have interaction. There's some fictional stories where they do, and there's some legends where they do, but in reality, I don't believe they did. So I don't even know if they were aware of each other, because Aleister Crowley was a public figure at that time, and H.P. Lovecraft died poor and unknown, basically. His works didn't become, they became famous posthumously. So we have serious occultists like Kenneth Grant, who he took the Ordo Templi Orientis and
this is that Masonic,
the Masonic order
that was created by.
So he was a student of Aleister Crowley, and he has his own the lodge that he's in charge of. There's different lodges, like Masonic lodges, but it's Aleister Crowley's lodges. So, but they start channeling and summoning and communicating with the gods from from H.P. Lovecraft's books, and they acknowledge that this book exists in the ether, in the astral plane, in the Akashic plane.
What's the Akashic plane?
Well, what I know of it comes from Theosophy. It's an old that's another old occultists, I guess. Now, when I start talking, I realize if you're not familiar with the occult, you're not going to know a lot of the stuff I'm talking about. So H.P. Blavatsky was the founder of Theosophy, and she was this Russian mystic that came over and founded this I wouldn't really call it a religion. It's kind of like a philosophical school, but it's very supernatural. Has this whole history of the world, the secret doctrine, and these hidden masters, and it was. They believe in reincarnation and ancient civilizations and ghosts and spiritualism and all this. And so they believed in the Akashic record. And the Akashic record is it's kind of like the astral plane to me, or the ether, like I said, where everything that has ever happened, ever will happen, like all existence is recorded. You could call it like God's book of everything that happened. It's all recorded in this Akashic record.
Okay.
So H.P. Lovecraft unknowingly plucked this book out of the Akashic record.
Okay. That
Yeah.
makes sense.
Yeah. So Kenneth Grant changes the name of Ordo Templi Orientis, his version, to Typhonian Ordo Templi Orientis, and he starts making correlations between a lot of other gods and demons that are parts of other mythologies throughout the world, and putting them in close with Lovecraft's mythos.
Mm-hmm.